I don't know. I already see groups like white men for Harris, white women
white
for
dudes
Harris.
for Harris.
Like, what are we doing, guys?
But like,
it's okay to be for Kamala Harris without stating your race. Do I have to do Turks who are not Turkish citizens, Muslims who are now atheists for Harris? Just be for Harris without doing weirdo stuff like that. It doesn't help.
In a rather interesting turn of events, it seems like the Young Turks now oppose DEI because they're now saying that they don't think Kamala Harris should just try to pull the race and gender card to win the election. Now, one could argue that is impressive, but I think on the other hand, it also goes to show what the Democrat viewpoint is towards the diversity card, because when it comes to affirmative action, when it comes to hiring bureaucrats or people in the private sector, they are perfectly willing to just prop people up on the basis of race. But when it comes to Democrats potentially losing the election because it's off-putting, it's not very popular, suddenly now Cenk Uygur opposes Kamala Harris pulling the diversity card. But still, nonetheless, we will react to this clip today because I do find it to be pretty interesting. So that said, folks, if you enjoy our content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new. But without further ado, let's get into this. Listen to Cenk Uygur's take, maybe something you wouldn't expect.
I will say, though, again, what no other show will say. On the other hand, Democrats and Kamala Harris should not make the mistake of going around saying you have to vote for her because she's a black woman. That would be a giant mistake, because that
spoiler, they already kind of are, okay? Because you look at the interviews of the average Kamala supporter on the news, what is it? It's a black woman, right?
Also turns people off.
It
Wait,
does, yeah.
I have to vote for her because of she's a certain race and gender? No, I don't. So the Democrats should not do identity politics. They should let the Republicans do their toxic form of identity politics and take the win. Will they be able to resist? I don't know. I already see groups like white men for Harris, white women for Harris. Like, what are we doing, guys?
But like,
it's okay to be for Kamala Harris without stating your race. Do I have to do Turks who are not Turkish citizens, Muslims who are now atheists for Harris? Just be for Harris without doing weirdo stuff like that. It doesn't help.
Yeah, and it's also about the messaging within those groups, right? Like, I was a little critical of those groups, and then I got pushed back. Oh, well, you should listen to the conversations, like the substantive conversations that are happening. But typically, especially in that white women for Harris group, the conversations are white women bad, white women like destroy country, use your privilege to promote Harris. Like that's gonna turn women off.
Yeah, not helpful.
Like, don't do that.
Not
don't
helpful.
do that. Okay.
Yeah, like this, any shaming of our private lives and opinions is bad politics.
Yes, I agree.
So when Democrats go, you don't know how to handle Kamala Harris's sorority that she went to at Howard University, which is mainly a black sorority.
Do not wear pearls, okay?
Okay, don't do this and don't do that and don't interrupt their dancing. How dare you not know? How the hell are we supposed to know what a black sorority does and doesn't do?
Look,
Look, I don't disagree with anything that the Young Turks are saying here. My only issue is, so especially Cenk, Anna might have a more nuanced opinion on this, but especially Cenk, does he oppose affirmative action then, right? Does he oppose this type of logic being applied to the private sector? Should this type of stuff also affect college admissions, or should it not? Private sector hiring? But the issue I have is that they always say those things are perfectly fine. I almost guarantee Cenk Uygur supports affirmative action, and yet suddenly when it comes to the Democrats potentially winning an election, that goes out the window. So it doesn't apply to your politicians that you support, but it should apply to the rest of us in our personal lives and our careers. That's the issue I have.
Shame people for things they couldn't possibly know. You're just turning them off. Leave it alone. The Republicans will do your job for you.
You put it perfectly, right? We see how the toxic identity politics and culture war messaging from the Trump ticket is sinking the Trump ticket. Democrats should heed that warning and not engage in it with like the Democrat flavor of culture war, identity politics stuff.
Just like the Republicans can't help themselves, I guarantee you the Democrats will not be able to help themselves.
Let's cross our fingers and hope that they can.
Yeah, so the problem there, Anna, is I think you underestimate, or maybe but you perhaps forget the type of people who run the Democrat Party, okay? Who are the staffers? Who are the interns? Who are the people making these decisions? They are obsessed with diversity, okay? And you want to make a bet? Let's watch the DNC and find out just how much of it involves she's a black woman, they're racist, all this stuff. Because despite the fact that maybe some Democrat elites like Obama, maybe Pelosi, maybe they want to be more palatable to the American people. But the unfortunate reality is you have a Democrat base and a Democrat circle of staffers and interns and all this stuff who simply can't help themselves. And you've already seen quite a lot of that from the Kamala Harris campaign. By the way, I will once again ask, what is Kamala's campaign message besides being a black woman? What is it? The accomplishments of Biden? Well, nobody even supports Biden or likes his presidency in terms of policy. So that can't be it. Is it abortion? Okay, fine. That's one single issue you can try to run on. But does it trump immigration, crime, etc., etc.? I don't think it does. But anyways, let's get back into this reaction clip, guys.
Fingers and hope that they can. Okay, but for now, I want to get back to the Democratic lawmaker who seems to agree with Ben Shapiro on Trump potentially having some buyer's remorse on JD Vance. And that individual is Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Take a look.
The addition of JD Vance to this ticket, it's incredibly bad choice. I think Donald Trump, I know him, and he's probably sitting and watching the TV, and every day Vance, it comes out Vance has done something more extreme, more weird, more erratic. Vance seems to be more erratic and more extreme than President Trump. And I'll bet President Trump is sitting there scratching his head and wondering, why did I pick this guy? The choice may be one of the best things he ever did for Democrats.
And Schumer even went so far as to make a pretty bold prediction that I don't think is that crazy. So let's take a look.
The president has about 10 days before the Ohio ballot is locked in, and he has a choice. Does he keep Vance on the ticket, where he already has a whole lot of baggage? He's probably going to be more baggage over the weeks because we'll hear more things about him. Or does he pick someone new? It's his choice.
So in fairness, just to be clear on that front, I think the JD Vance stuff is a lot of fear-mongering and an intentional smear campaign from the Democrats. I think the reality is the majority of Americans, and this is usually true in presidential elections, don't really care about the VP pick. Nobody's really turned off or necessarily turned on, maybe a little bit, but for the most part, people are voting for you, not necessarily for your VP, okay? Obama won in 2008 with Joe Biden as the VP. Let's not forget that. Even in 2020, Joe Biden, at least allegedly, won with Kamala as the VP. So I think this whole thing is kind of a wash. They're just trying to sow division and chaos in the Republican ranks, and it's very sad to see a lot of conservative influencers fall for that smear campaign, as if they weren't going to do this to anyone that Donald Trump chose, right? But the reality is this: if you do want to talk about electoral appeal, yes, the fear-mongering over JD Vance and his Project 2025 and all this stuff may drive Democrat turnout in California and New York, but you want to talk about why the choice was made. Let's not forget this. It is because he appeals specifically to the white working class voters that are key to win in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, that whole Rust Belt, etc. So that's the point here. And it's very interesting that I feel like in all these discussions about how bad JD Vance is, no one ever acknowledges that, right? No one ever asks, why did Trump choose that VP? And maybe they'll be in for a rude awakening because of it. Who knows?
Think about that, Cenk. Do you think that he might switch Vance out for someone else?
I don't know, but I do know that it's smart politics to open this debate up because the Republicans
and Cenk is right about that on their side. Right? It's smart for them to try to sow division in our ranks and say, Trump doesn't like his VP. He made a bad choice. My point as a conservative is we just shouldn't fall for it. Okay? It's targeted. It's an agenda. It's set up. It's a psyop. That's exactly what it is. It is a psyop. So don't fall for the psyop, right? Just keep your head down. Don't worry about it, because ultimately I don't think it's going to make a serious difference besides infighting within the Republican Party. And that's the entire point.
No matter which side of the question you're on. Should he dump JD Vance or not? already we're having a conversation about how awful JD Vance is and how hurt the Trump ticket is and how they should react to that. So that is a great conversation for Democrats to have. So nicely played by Chuck Schumer there. It's not true that they have to decide by August 7th because the Ohio ballot measure, that's a thing that was an issue earlier. Ohio fixed it. Democrats are still pretending it's an issue so they could do a virtual roll call on August 7th. I just want to be clear about the facts. Schumer is not correct about that. The other thing about Schumer is these are all good points, but he's among the 200-year-olds that run Washington, so you could lose that point in an otherwise incredibly mundane presentation.
I agree.
That is why when Kamala Harris makes a good speech, or Tim Walz is great on TV, or Josh Shapiro / Barack Obama gives a speech, Democrats and independents are like, whoa, look at that. Someone who can make an effective point in a way that's engaging. That's amazing, right?
Sounds kind of ageist, Cenk. I don't know. But that said, okay, to recap here, Cenk Uygur is against DEI policies when they apply to his candidates. I don't know his stances on the other stuff that regular Americans deal with. Again, open to having that discussion. I'm very curious to see. And on the front of JD Vance, I think he's just participating in the psyop right now. So division within the Republican ranks. I'm not here to buy it, right? Does JD have some weaknesses? Yes. Was he my first electoral choice for the VP? Not necessarily. But when I take a look at that electoral map in those 3 states that you're going to have to win, it's big, right? It's going to help a lot. So that said, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Follow me on X and all of my social medias, link in the description. And until next time, God bless and peace.